Hey, it's BJ from Flight School Adventure. Today I have some tips to help you perfect slow flight. We'll cover cures for common errors as well as tips to help you master this most fundamental of flight training maneuvers. Slow flight is generally performed in the landing configuration. However, it can be performed in any configuration that your instructor or the evaluator requests. So before you begin the maneuver, make sure you're clear on what the desired configuration is. Ask your instructor for the best initial power setting for your airplane. For Piper Warriors and Cessna 172s, I find that a setting of between 1500 RPM and 1700 RPM works pretty well. The higher the initial power setting you use, the longer it's going to take for the aircraft to slow down. This could be advantageous for you, especially if you are new to performing slow flight. As the aircraft begins to settle into slow flight, you're going to be adjusting the power quite a bit. So this is really just an initial value to kick things off. Also remember to heed any manufacturing instructions for the use of carburetor heat prior to reducing power. On your way to your target airspeed, there's a couple of common errors to avoid. From the moment you reduce power to begin the deceleration, you'll have to gradually increase back pressure on the elevator control to keep a level flight attitude. The sight picture out your windscreen is your best tool for this. Look outside and keep the position of the nose relative to the horizon constant. As the airplane continues to slow, the target sight picture will shift more and more nose high. Typically, the airplane will move from a cruise pitch attitude to a climb pitch attitude as the airplane reaches the target slow flight airspeed. The most common error is to allow the nose to fall below the necessary pitch attitude with insufficient back pressure as the aircraft slows. However, it's also possible to do the opposite, to overcompensate by pulling back too hard, causing the aircraft to balloon in altitude. Finally, the aircraft attitude will naturally want to change with any configuration changes, especially extension of the wing flaps. Manage these pitch changes to hold the altitude constant as the configuration changes. Once established in slow flight, you may be asked to perform some turns. As you turn, the aircraft will have a tendency to descend as some of the lift produced by the wings is being used to turn the airplane. Be prepared to increase back pressure and add power as needed. Turns during slow flight should be limited to medium and shallow bank angles. Slow flight involves high power settings and relatively high pitch attitudes, so the aircraft's left turning tendencies will be strong. There are three specific areas where coordination issues commonly develop. First, in wings level flight, the aircraft will naturally want to roll and yaw to the left because of the engine's left turning tendencies. The tip here is to keep the wings level with aileron and apply enough right rudder pressure to keep the nose from yawing across the horizon. This will also keep the slip skid indicator centered. The second problem area is rolling into and rolling out of turns. You need to apply some rudder pressure in the direction of the roll to counteract the adverse yaw produced by the ailerons. For example, as you roll into a left turn, you will need some left rudder or less right rudder pressure. As you roll out of a left turn back to straight and level flight, you will need extra right rudder pressure during the roll. Finally, the last coordination issue comes up once you're established in a turn. Here you need to apply enough rudder pressure to keep the slip skid indicator centered during the turn. Avoid instrument fixation. Given the tight tolerances on airspeed and altitude in this maneuver, it's easy to become fixated on the flight instruments. Remember that like every other visual maneuver, slow flight is best performed with your eyes outside the airplane. Use the sight picture to establish and maintain the appropriate attitude throughout slow flight. Reference your instruments briefly and then return your eyes outside to make any corrections needed to your sight picture. Also remember to keep your eyes moving to look for traffic throughout the entire maneuver. Elevator trim. Elevator trim can help you in maintaining the appropriate pitch attitude necessary for slow flight. As the aircraft slows, trim out enough of the control forces so that you can comfortably manage the aircraft pitch as needed. But don't go overboard. You may not find it necessary or desirable to trim the aircraft excessively nose up. Whatever trim you put into the maneuver, you're going to have to take back out as you recover back to normal cruising speeds. As mentioned before, activation of the stall warning is undesirable when you're performing slow flight to the Airman certification standards. Once you've established flight at your target airspeed, you don't want to receive any additional stall warning indications throughout the maneuver. If the stall horn chirps a little bit momentarily, like it would from slight turbulence or just a momentary deviation of airspeed, lower the nose and add a bit of power. Generally speaking, if the stall warning is very brief and you correct it right away, it's acceptable to continue the maneuver. However, if the stall warning is prolonged, or if it progresses towards or actually to a full stall, go ahead and perform a full stall recovery. All right, here's the last tip. Keep one hand on the throttle. Many pilots are tempted to put both hands on the yoke while trying to control pitch during this maneuver. Resist this urge and keep one hand on the throttle, making active adjustments as needed. You can make configuration changes, trim adjustments, or perform other tasks as needed, but then that hand should return to the throttle when you're done. Okay, that's all I've got for you for today. If you want more information on slow flight or other maneuvers, follow the link below to the Flight School Adventure website, where you'll find more videos, articles, and tons of other useful stuff. Thanks so much, and we'll see you later.